What's going on, boxing fans? I'm back here with another video here set for you guys. And boxing, politics, robberies, entertainment, violence, we got it all tonight in the card of Gervonta Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach. We even got some retirements going out. And talking about this card, gonna go in depth, giving my recap and reaction of it, starting with the fight of Johan Gonzalez and Jared Hurd. It's about damn time, man. It is about damn time. Jared Hurd has finally retired from boxing after getting whooped on by a dude who's pretty much just a name for a prospect that's on the come up or a good fighter who's just looking for some space to be able to fight against. Jared Hurd had a great career, man. Shout out to him. He's doing his thing. And shout out to this other guy who's also doing his thing, that being Yoenis Telez, beating another fighter who honestly should be thinking about retirement very, very soon, that being Julian J. Rock Williams. Yoenis Telez gets a unanimous decision victory over him, pretty much doing whatever he wanted to do and doing the things that he needed to do to be able to get the victory over a Julian J. Rock Williams. Good to see him go to the full decision and get the full victory over a nice veteran like Julian J. Rock Williams. Moving on up the card to another fight, they had Alberto Puello versus Sander Martin. A close and competitive fight between these two guys. Even though Sander Martin is a guy who has been inactive for about a year and a half, is a tough cookie. Like I said in my prediction video, he is a very skilled and talented fighter. He is there to fight, and Puello just nearly got the split decision over him, which was, again, another close and competitive fight because that's what Sandor Martin is there and for, to bring some competition throughout it. But then we move on to the co-main event. Really, this is where everything is starting to hit home and starting to get into the things of what we need to be able to talk about, especially on this card. Jose Rayo Valenzuela goes against Gary Antoine Russell. I went with Jose Valenzuela because of his performance of how he looked so dominant against Isaac Pitbull Cruz. But looking back at it now, damn that I heavily overrate that win. I mean, Isaac Pitbull Cruz is a good and entertaining fighter, but anybody his caliber in terms of Jose Valenzuela can be able to do something like that to a Isaac Pitbull Cruz. And also as well with the Pueblo split decision loss that Gary Antoine Russell last came out of, I was very disappointed out of him, and I kind of expected a lot less than what he came out with. And man, he put on a hell of a performance, a virtuoso type of performance that he put on. Really, really getting that redemption factor of that loss for him in his career. And hopefully now he's going to be able to later down the line get that rematch against Puello, who's also a defending champion in this division. Also, this was a fight that Jose Valenzuela didn't even really need to be able to get into. This was a voluntary defense that he wanted to be able to pull up. And credit to him, man, because he got his ass whooped. Godly. Gary Antoine Russell was there just doing whatever he needed to be able to do to get this victory his way. And it just started from the onset. The pressure, the hand speed, the boxing ability was just on show. It was a complete showcase for Gary Antoine Russell. He did whatever the hell he wanted to be able to do to Jose Valenzuela. And Valenzuela, he tried to be slick. He tried to be able to show off his defensive chops, and he got absolutely BTA, belt to ass. Not much to really be able to say. There were some counters, there were some shots here and there that Valenzuela would landing, but the hand speed, just the speed difference in general, and the boxing ability in general by Gary Antoine Russell was just on another level. So shout out to Gary Antoine Russell, proving me wrong, proving all the haters wrong as well, especially after the performance that Jose Valenzuela recently just put on. A lot of people were thinking about him potentially going against a Gervonta Tank Davis in the future, even though they're just a weight division up from one. Man, he pulled out all the stops and he did exactly what he needed to be able to do. I think he threw like 1,000 punches or something insane like that. So yeah, shout out to Gary Antoine Russell. And now we move on to the main event, the main course we will talk about, and that was Gervonta Tank Davis versus Lamont Roach. Now, Obviously, we're going to start off with what is the most disgusting robbery that we've seen in a very, very long time. Obviously, PBC, Al Heyman, Amazon Prime being the head, the big name, the headliner, that Gervonta Tank Davis. Of course, you're not going to put your boy out there and want him to make him lose. And usually, for most of the fights that I have for these headliners that are on pay per view, big main event names, I have my in depth breakdown round by round of what I gave it and what I said and giving my breakdown. But it was a Gervonta Tank Davis fight, so I thought that we're going to get a run of the mill, typical, normal Gervonta Tank Davis performance where, yeah, you start off slow, you get into the middle rounds, you get the knockout, and it is what it is. So I didn't have any type of breakdown, or I didn't really even score this fight, in my honest opinion. But just judging it by round with my eyes, going forth, Lamont Roach 100% defeated Gervonta Tank Davis. And this goes into tell to what my prediction video was, comparing the last performance for Gervonta Tank Davis with that being Frank Martin. I did expect Lamar Roach to perform a lot better than what Frank Martin did, and he did tenfold. Um, Also, as well, I did say that I did think that Lamar Roach was going to get knocked out, but I did think that he would have an impressive performance this time going against Gervonta Tank Davis. They did have the history between each other, facing each other in the amateur, so they have some type of knowledge and some type of history between each other. When they did fight each other before. Again, even though it being amateurs and it being years ago, there is some type of history and some type of experience between these two fighters. And we might as well have gotten the kryptonite to Superman, that being Gervonta Tank Davis. Lamar Roach, in my opinion, and how this fight went usually goes normally how it always usually goes, and most Gervonta Tank Davis fights, with that being it being very slow, slow pace, not a lot of output. Gervonta Tank Davis just getting his reads, getting his cues, downloading the information against Lamar Roach. And this time, Lamar Roach actually pressing forward, actually trying to press the action, and having Gervonta Tank Davis being backed up. One thing that you obviously can tell from the onset was that Gervonta Tank Davis's footwork and foot speed was definitely an advantage compared to a Lamont Roach. And that's just seemingly what it was going to be, is just a normal day at the office for Gervonta Tank Davis. In those early rounds, though, where not a lot of was happening in pertaining to activity and output, I did think that Lamont Roach definitely banked in a few rounds, in my opinion. I think he did the better work and threw a lot more punches and was a lot more active compared to a Gervonta Tank Davis. Even though early in those early rounds, yeah, Gervonta Tank Davis did some good work to the body. He didn't do enough to really win the rounds because, again, usually these fights go how it usually goes, and that's usually a knockout at the end of the night. But we didn't get that, so since we didn't get that, we kind of have to score it based on how it was going round by round. And again, I didn't score this, in my honest opinion, round by round how I usually do, but from what I do remember that I did think that a few rounds, especially early, Lamar Roach did win those rounds. Not comfortably, not just taking over the rounds, but he just did edge it enough, in my opinion. And when it being a champion like Gervonta Davis and it being close and him landing a few shots less than you, then maybe not edging it out, especially with the big name of him being Gervonta Tank Davis, is not just going to happen. But then you go into the middle rounds where, usually things start to heat up. Gervonta Davis starts to get more active. He starts to land more punches, that being in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th round. He started to do so. He started to do exactly what he usually always does, and that being him being the tremendous counterpuncher, him using his speed and all these other things. But the foundational part for Lamont Roach actually winning this fight was his game plan and IQ of countering the counterpuncher. Very, very hard thing to do, especially the type of talent and caliber of talent that Gervonta Davis is. But when countering opponents, usually the times that he does counter his opponents, he usually stuns or hurts them and they back up and they don't really want to be able to exchange again. But Lamont Roach was there in the heat of the fire, staying in the kitchen, in the hot grease, and all this other stuff. And he countered him very effectively because when Gervonta Davis, again, when he usually does counter somebody, the counter is always open for him back, but he wasn't taking heed of that in the other fighters that he has fought against before. And Lamont Roach took advantage of that 100%. Landing the straight right hands, landing the left hooks. He had really good body work, in my opinion, even though Gervonta Davis had the better body work overall throughout the entirety of the fight. But Lamont Roach was there landing great shots to the body, whether it being the variation of the hooks to the sides of the body. He did land that a few times. His jab was very active. He landed a lot with the lead right hand. He landed very, very short and nice and crisp uppercuts here and there that were landing very, very effectively. Shout out to Gervonta Davis's chin because he was taking some punishment his way. Usually, a lot of other fighters, even though Lamont Roach is not really known for his power, he does have some sting on his shots, obviously. So the chin of Gervonta Davis is actually tested for wear, and he didn't go down by that, but he did go down and take a knee. And referee, that being veteran referee for Willie or Reed Willis. Dude, Steve Willis, excuse me. Dude, that's a knee. You gotta count that as a knockdown. You gotta do a standing 8 count. He wasn't even hurt. Nothing really happened, whatever the case may be. But he took a knee. You have to count that. And even without the knockdown, in my opinion, I did think that Lamont Roach actually won the fight, regardless of that fact. I think he kind of won it comfortably 8-4, that being 116-112, in my opinion. And just that was really just the story of the fight. Lamont Roach with the chin, that is unquestioned as of right now. I mean, if you're taking the punishment from a Gervonta Davis, I think you could take a shot from Keyshawn Davis, who's also in the division, who's athletic and explosive with his power shots as well. That would actually be a pretty great matchup. That in itself, also as well, Shakur Stevenson later down the line, if Lamont Roach is able to get out of Al Haymon and PBC and jump over ship to the sides of those boys. But again, man, Lamont Roach just taking those power shots coming his way, being defensively responsible, having that IQ, drawing out the counters out of Gervonta Davis, so then in turn counter Gervonta Davis, beating him on points, wobbling and hurting. I wouldn't say absolutely hurting him badly, but wobbling him, stunning him with a few great timely shots. Lamont Roach really pulled out all the stops. He did what he said that he was going to be able to do. I thought that, again, in my prediction video, I thought he was going to get knocked the fuck out, how usually it is in most Gervonta Davis fights against most opponents that he has. Lamont Roach not being that big of a name, not having a lot of punching power. So things weren't going his way, but those that are in the know, they're in the know. And I did think that Lamont Roach was actually going to do a lot better than a lot of other fighters compared to him. But he really did a lot better. He did a lot better than Isaac Pitbull Cruz, getting that draw, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, getting that win. I have to then watch this fight again on a replay, get an in-depth breakdown round by round to really give it its due justice. But again, this just off the recap and reaction of first watching this fight, I 100% think that Lamont Roach got robbed, got jobbed. But that being politics, that being boxing, if you've been in this sport and been watching this sport for a very long time, you know how it goes. The big stars and the big buck headliners, they get their draw, they get their scorecards their way as well. That's just how it goes. That's the name of boxing. But yeah, disgusting, a shame, but that's how it is, unfortunately, in the game of boxing. But Lamont Roach, man, shout out to him. He got a lot of fans. He got a lot of support. He got a lot of buzz on his name now because he did the unthinkable, and that's actually go past the 12 rounds and actually win against Gervonta Tank Davis. Boxing fans, obviously like this video. If you obviously like this video, comment your opinions on how you thought this card was, how this fight and this main event was. Did you think that Gervonta Tank Davis barely edged it out? Do you think that Lamont Roach definitely won this fight? What do you think about the rematch, and what do you think is going to go down in the rematch? Because the rematch is 100% going to be able to go down. That's something that they definitely want to vindicate on Gervonta Tank Davis's performer, perfect, pristine record that now has that draw on it. Um, and hopefully they get their boy and their big moneymaker, Gervonta Davis, back into shape and where it needs to be. But yeah, man, hell of a performance. Shout out to Gary Antoine Russell, who also had a hell of a performance. And Lamar Roach, man, showstoppers, 100% made worthy of this card. And subscribe, boxing fans. Subscribe. I've been here throughout this entire year. I've been here last year, and I'm going to be here even longer after that. So if you're here and you enjoy the content and you like what you're able to see, you want to be able to see more, and that's exactly what I'm going to be able to bring you, boxing fans. Thank you guys again for watching the video again, and peace.